What the hell? Okay, that's better. Hey guys, so this is a video response to I was gonna say Ed. This is a video response to Giltar's recent video talking about getting back to the basics of a hobby. And I gotta do this. I really have to do this video response because for one, I miss doing video responses to questions from you guys and other YouTubers and stuff like that. That was a fun time. Um, and two, because I really do understand where this is all coming from, like especially now, especially right now, being the summer and with me, trying to experiment, doing all these things, improving on my skill set and all that stuff like that. It's been rough because for one, the weather sucks. It's really weird. If you live in Northern California or just the Bay Area, if you live in the Bay Area, or I guess Northern California. All right, fine. If you live in Northern California, you know that the weather is unpredictable. It's supposed to be summertime, and the last time I remember it being summer, I think was during April or May, maybe, when everyone was graduating. I can't remember if it was this year or last year because it was probably last year. Time goes by fast. But yeah, it was we get lucky to even have a single day of heat or even a week of heat. It's supposed to be summer. It kind of sucks. It kind of takes away from a lot of things, especially if you're painting. Um, with and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys painting is fun. It's not. Painting is not fun. I know it should be fun because it's part of your hobby. It's part of being a Gundam modeler or just a model kit builder, but it's just not fun. Like it really isn't. It's a hassle. Like you have to wait for certain things. You gotta wait for things to dry up before you can apply another coat or before you apply decals and all this other stuff. It's not fun. It really isn't. Um, there are things that are fun about it, but the process isn't fun. Especially if you live in the Bay Area, especially where I live, and especially if you have the kind of schedule I do, where you're basically occupied during the day where it's warm, and then by the time you're not occupied, by the time you're free again, it starts to get cold. So here, I work in the morning up until the afternoon, up until the evening sometimes, and then when I get home and when I actually have the time to do painting and stuff, it starts to get really cold, and it sucks. Um, and that's that. So let me set that aside. Action figures wise, especially with Dark of the Moon, especially with Captain America figures. I think those are the two biggest things right now: is Captain America figures and Dark of the Moon figures. At least for us here, for me at least. Yeah, for me at least. Um, it's you kind of get caught up in trying to collect the ones that are really popular, collect the good ones, and then you also kind of get caught up in this whole thing about the Dark of the Moon figures in general being shrunken, and then you got these gimmicks, the mech tech things. A lot of fans are put off by the Dark of the Moon figures because of their smaller size, because of the mech tech gimmick, and they just don't want to. They want to have nothing to do with Dark of the Moon because of that. And to be honest, I think I mentioned this a few videos ago before I started getting the Dark Moon figures, and I think I said that I was going to be one of those that will hold off on getting Dark Moon figures. Um, and well, look at me now. I've got like a whole shelf full of them, and there's only one mech tech weapon that I've ever complained about. Only one, maybe another one, but sort of, not so much as this other one. And you'll see when the review comes out, or not even. Yeah, I'm gonna do something different with the toys, but you kind of just get caught up in the things that are, you know, these toys. Of course, Hasbro. I'm pretty sure Hasbro. There's no doubt Hasbro is aware of their older, the older audiences. The more matured collectors who, you know, needless to say, we do nitpick about the smaller things about these figures. Because for us, we spend our earned money on these things. We work for the money we make, and then we spend them on these things, and we got to make sure that they're as great as possible. But um, we get so concentrated on all that stuff. Like, I'm gonna be paying $20 for a figure. It better have good paint apps, and this thing better not be stupid. and it better have the right amount of articulation, it better be the right size, and all these other expectations about about a figure. We get so caught up about the figure itself, like how cool the figure could be, um, just when you mess around with it and play with it. Just go back to the basics of just the toy, the toy being a toy, and it's something you just play with. I for one, I will admit to this. There are some times where I come home from work, and all the dirty jokes can start coming out right now. I'm pretty sure because everything I'm about to say from right now, I know is going to sound really awkward. So sometimes I get home and I'm stressed out, and so I grab one of these toys and I just play with it. Maybe I pose it here and there, and then that'll be all. I just put it back, and that kind of I get kind of, and I know what Giltar means when he says this, where he gets kind of this sense of relief after that. Just grabbing the thing, moving an arm up or down, or just adjusting his pose just a little bit, or even if he's fallen down from his pose, and I get that a lot with the Captain America figures. They cannot stand on their own, especially with my bed that it's not stable, and whenever I rock it, whenever I rock the bed, the figures fall. Um, and it's not the figure's fault at all. I don't think it's the figure's fault. It's probably because just the bed rocks too hard. Um, so yeah, I, I don't know. I guess that's my thought on going back to the basics, because you kind of you get so caught up in like collecting these figures, trying to make sure that they have the best paint apps and all these other things. But in the end, they are what they are. Then they are toys. They're action figures and meant to just be, if not displayed, to be messed around with. Who cares if they have the same paint apps? I get so caught up with trying to find the best paint apps that I completely miss out on a completely good toy. Model kit wise, you kind of forget about the fun of building a model kit, because especially if you're at a point like where I should be, where you really want to just where you really should know about painting, and really trying to put your best into a model kit, because that's what a hobby is. You invest a lot of time, you invest a lot of money in it, you really want to make the best out of it. And that's the thing about these model kits, especially with some of the things that I've been trying to work on, like Result Commander type here, who's still unbuilt, because I want to add some color to him, because I want to give him a different color scheme. Well, not really entirely, but just add different colors to different spots of the body. And I haven't built him because of that. And then I see one day, Double O Rebirth, he tweets, just screw it, just build the thing and worry about the paint later. And it was all interesting, because that Giltar's video came out, or at least I watched it the same day I saw Rebirth's tweet, and I was like, I think it's time to just go back to the basics, kind of take a break from, well, not that I did much anyway in terms of painting, but just kind of go back to building the basics. And I think that's why it was good for me to actually go out and buy the Super Deformed Wing Gundam and build him the way he did, because it kind of gives you that quick fix that you look for. And sometimes, and it was fun just building the thing and kind of messing around with it, just being able to mess around with it and not worry about a single paint getting scratched off, and just getting back into the fun of building a model kit. And I would have to agree that worrying about painting a model kit kind of takes away from the fun. And some people might disagree with me, because there are parts of the painting that it is fun, and I can't disagree with that either. Like, there was a time where I would really enjoy painting a model kit. That's back when I was still using Gundam markers and stuff. Which I will say I still do, but for a different reason. And I usually just use them on Transformers. Right now I'm kind of adding more color to Nitro Bumblebee, and that's where I've been utilizing some Gundam markers. In terms of Gundam modeling, I use a Gundam marker, but in a different manner. And you just milk the paint out of the marker and use a brush. Once in a while I'll still use a Gundam marker to apply paint directly from the Gundam marker. Once in a while I'll still use a panel lining marker to do panel lining. But like, what I'm trying to say is, with painting a model kit, it still can be fun, but with I guess with me and how I'm approaching the painting, it hasn't been fun recently. It really hasn't, because it kind of sucks. You know, you're trying to get better, and at the same time, you're trying to put out these videos, and there's all these other things that get you so caught up in doing, you kind of just lose track of other things you could be doing and should be doing, and yeah, all this other stuff. So I don't know. That's why it was good to kind of remember the basics about having an action figure in your hand and being able to just mess around with it. And I have to thank Darker the Moon, actually, because these figures, although they are smaller, although they have these stupid MechTech weapons, which aren't stupid actually, I actually have a lot of fun with the MechTech weapons. I'm really thankful for getting into the Darker the Moon figures, because the whole MechTech thing is actually really fun. Um, yeah, a lot of fans could go away without them, because if it weren't for the MechTech weapons, we'd definitely have better painted figures, and with that being said, bigger figures. But in the end, having the figure, which is already fun itself, the transformations aren't as hard as they were with Revenge of the Fallen. You have, fairly easy transformations. You have, these little sublines, like the Cyberverse sublines, and they're fun. Like, I never thought I'd really get into these smaller figures, but I do. I really do. I especially enjoy having all three of the dreads displayed together. Just the fact that I could carry this guy around, just transform him in and out, and just be like, ooh, Transformer. It sounds immature, but sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you need a break from seriousness. Sometimes you need a break from work. So you know, you got these toys, and I think personally it's beneficial to be a fan of Transformers, to be a fan of the things I'm a fan of. Being a fan of a lot of things. I think it helps. I think it helps because, especially if you're a fan of modeling, Gundam modeling, or just small kit building in general, and toy collecting. I think they complement each other, because if you get tired of building a model kit, maybe your attention span kind of just shortens down a little bit. You could resort to your Revoltex. You can resort to your Robot Damashis, your Figuarts, your Transformers, your Hasbro 3 3/4 inch figures. Just something you can mess around with without having to worry about it so much, and that would give you that little fix you need, that little break you need from the work that you're doing. So yeah, there's my thoughts on that. So I think it really is good to remember kind of the basics of your hobby, the basics of your interest, whatever it is. You know, this could literally speak for a lot of different things. Like if it's drawing, sometimes you get caught up with doing projects, you forget about the fun of just drawing and just sketching. There's writing, if you're into poetry and stuff like that, you sometimes get caught up in trying to impress someone or impress people, where you should be just impressing yourself when it comes to the writing that you do. But yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching.